This week on Geekiest of Geeks, join me on the bridge of the Ostrakhan as we venture into the universe of the new novel, Devoured. Welcome, human survivors, to this episode of Geekiest of the Geeks. I am your host, Doug Croft. Today I will be reviewing Devoured by Alexa Chipman. Devoured is the sequel to the young adult novel Supernova, which came out last year. The story in Devoured picks up where Supernova left off, with Earth destroyed and only a handful of human survivors remaining, and Tristan, one of the protagonists, about to encounter a new species of alien. I enjoyed this book even more than the first book in the series. There's less setup and a much faster pace. We also get to see a new side to most of the characters. We get to see how Val reacts when she is cast out by her sisters, the complicated relationship between Kara and her father, and what Tristan does when his loyalties are divided. Seeing the characters we were introduced to in the first book grow and face the new challenges of rebellion and alien threat in this book was the most satisfying part of the story for me. The tone of this book is slightly darker than the first book, however, as the new alien race has an unhealthy interest in the few remaining humans. I had a chance to sit down with the author herself at VidCon this year and talk to her about Devoured. Thanks for sitting down with us today. Can you tell us a little bit about Devoured and Supernova, the first book in the series?
Supernova and Devoured are part of my science fiction series, and they're primarily based on Shakespearean plot lines. I really love Shakespeare, and I figured he stole all his material. I'll steal a bit of his. They're mostly unrecognizable unless you really know the plays well. For example, the first book is a comedy of errors and Coriolanus combined, very much changed, but I just love Coriolanus and the idea of someone who is beloved by the people and then rejected for kind of stupid reasons. And I wanted to create some characters that are real and that I could fall in love with myself, because up until now, a lot of the characters I created I thought were interesting, but I felt like they didn't exist in and of themselves. Like if I stopped writing them, they would just pause. And the characters from this series, I feel like if I stopped writing, they'd still go on with their lives and ignore me.
What was the difference, do you think, between writing the first book, which has a little bit different tone to what's in the second book?
I think the first book was about discovering the world and getting to know the basics of the characters. And the second book, I really feel like I understood them, and they basically wrote themselves a lot of the time. And they also went to a bit more of a darker place. Some of them, because of situation, they were in mortal peril, and others, partly through their own choices, they decided to go there. So it's more like real life that way.
Can you give us any hints as to what's going to happen in the third book?
I always try to plot meticulously, but I am available to throw that all out and start over if it goes well in a different direction. So I think I know where it's going, but I'm not 100% sure at this point. I am introducing a new alien race, the Grundilos, which is another part of mythology. I'm extrapolating if the ocean-based myths were in space, basically.
In Greek mythology, sirens crash ships into the rocks, and drown sailors. But in your second book, Devoured, the sirens are a little bit worse. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, when I was researching it, they have all kinds of stories. Some of them that they were cannibals that actually ripped people apart and ate them when they came ashore. others that they were benevolent, beautiful women that were cursed and it wasn't their fault. So I went with a combination of all of them. So some of the sirens are good and some of them aren't. And they subsist primarily off humans or the equivalent thereof in aliens. They can also eat regular food, but they can't survive on it, basically.
I give this book 9 out of a possible 10 nuns in space. That's the end for this episode of Geekiest of the Geeks. I'd like to thank Alexa Chipman for taking the time to talk about her new book with me. There are links in the description below to get your copy of Devoured and Supernova. Make sure to subscribe and to hit the like button. And tune in next time to see me challenge Emperor Hogan for the right to rule.